All right, so we're going to review the powers of base 10 for questions 1 and 2 in the review slides. So this chart here should look familiar. I want to remind you guys that the first form you're looking at is called exponential. The middle, where it's multiplied out, is the expanded form, and the final answer is in standard form. In purple, you should notice that the exponents are decreasing by 1, and so they'll eventually go into the negatives where we can review the decimals. So 10 to the 5th is 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which is 100,000. Now, as we move down in exponents, we're simply removing a 10 that we multiply by. So for the standard answer, when we see that we're dividing by 10, we then take 10,000 and divide it by 10 to get 1,000. Now, if we take 1,000 and divide it by 10, we get 100. 100 divided by 10 is this 10, and now 10 divided by 10 is this 1. This video also reviews right here that anything to the 0 power is always going to be 1. Now, as the pattern continues, where we continue to divide by 10, so now we're at the 1 divided by 10, which is a 10th. So there's my 10th. Now divided by 1 is going to be 1/100th. Divided by 1 is going to be 1/1000th. As I said, this green fraction, 1/10, this is it as a decimal with 1/10. This is a 1 in the 100th spot, and this is a 1 in the 1,000th spot. Now I want to remind you guys also that this 10 to the negative 1 is the same then as 1 over 10 to the first power. 10 to the negative 2 is the same as 1 over 10 squared, because it's 1 over 10 times 10, which is 100. And 10 to the negative 3 is the same as 1 over 10 cubed. So they're just the inverse of each other. If I put 10 to the negative 1 over 1, now when we flip those, you can see it now becomes positive. So 10 to the negative 2 is 1 over 10 squared, and 10 to the negative 3 is 1 over 10 cubed. Now on the next two slides, for the review that you have, you're going to be asked about 10 to the negative 4 and 10 to the negative 5. So let's take a look now at those questions. Oh, wait, actually, it's just 10 to the negative 2, sorry. This one is going to be 10 to the negative 5. So for this, 10 to the negative 2, we already have it on this slide. It's going to be this group of numbers right here. These are all 10 to the negative 2. Okay? So what we can see is that the negative exponent does not mean we have a negative answer. In fact, a negative exponent means we're going to have a decimal answer. So 10 to the negative 2, they're not negatives. Nope. Now B is still in the running, except you see how it has a 2 there? That's 2/100ths as a fraction, which reduces to 1 out of 50. And that's not what 10 to the negative 2 is. 10 to the negative 2 is 1 over 10 squared. So we want 1/100th, not 2/100ths. Okay? So that's why we're going to knock out B. C has negatives, so we're knocking that out. Now D is back to positives, and there you can see right there, if I write that as a decimal, boom, it's going to be D. All right, now for the next question, 10 to the negative 5, we know that's 1 over 10 to the 5th. And something that I did not yet review on the slides then is that that's the same as saying 1 over 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. And what we can do then is say that it's the same as this times itself. Let me just group this together now, if it'll let me. And so now basically we've got this times itself 5 times. And that's what answer choice B shows. That it's that 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is the 1. And in the bottom here we have 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, which is the 10 to the 5th power. So this one we're going to be selecting B. A, just so you guys know, A shows 10 to the positive 5th power. C shows that you can take a negative 10 times itself 5 times. And D shows that you have a negative 1/10 times itself 5 times. All right, and that concludes this review video. Thank you.